Kids with the oh my god, that's lit. I'm going crazy. Let's try something then. I'm gonna put this at 0, 14, 0. Back this up to there. Okay. And how many frames does it go? Let's see. Okay, so 14 minutes to 14:05 pretty much. So file. Can I choose where it goes? Like, why can't I just type it? Oh my god! Oh my god! That's a clip. I'm going crazy. Oh, I forgot to turn my lights. Huh, why is my camera on? So, okay, so we got the exact snippet we want. Move in. Lock it in, my boys. Right there. Perfect. No, that looks perfect. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, we're going to call this. No, my intro. Just keep it simple. Alright, completed videos. No, we're gonna put this in the YouTube folder. Yeah, my intro. Boom. Okay, high quality, 1080p. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make two different files. I'm gonna make my intro 1080p. Export. Okay. Then file export again. But this time, oh wait, go back. this time we're gonna switch it to TikTok format, 1080 by 1920. Okay. Just make sure it looks good.
Oh, crazy.
It looks good. Okay. File. Export media. Okay. Cool. Oh, I have to do the same shit again, don't I? Oh wait, it looks like it don't. Oh, it's auto saved. Beautiful. That's what I want to see. Custom. That's wonderful. Nice. So we're gonna save this one as my intro. TikTok slash or TikTok and TikTok Shorts content. Sure. You can't put it slash / but whatever. Take that. Okay, cool. Now that we finally have that done, I've been wanting to do that for a couple days now. So now we're gonna move this to the front of the video, but wait, let me actually, before I keep going. So 19 to 190953. Screenshot. I touched the picture. Actually, that's perfect. I can keep that right there. Good. Why does it look like that though? call it? My closing trailer. TikTok and shorts. Okay, export. Same thing. File. Export. I'm gonna file this one. Oh, I almost forgot. Am I missing something? Wait, hold up. Hey everyone, it's Santi. Oh my god, that's a blip. I'm going crazy. Oh my god, that's a blip. I'm going. Crazy. Oh my god, that's a blip. I'm going crazy. Let's see. Trump eating an ice cream.
Trump eating ice cream.
That's actually pretty good. Holy. Oh my. You
Okay. Skiing down a mountain when she comes.
How do I do that zoom effect again? Let me see.
Knowing when to zoom into something is a key skill to have. You might want a close-up to point viewers to something super important, or highlight an emotion on someone's face. Or you may simply want to...
And if you're following along.
The first thing we want to do is create something called an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer is basically an invisible layer force creates you can add to your timeline above your video and audio. You can then add effects such as zooms to that adjustment layer. And then rather than the effect being put directly onto your original clip, it goes onto the adjustment layer instead. And because the adjustment layer is above the video layer, you will still see the effect in the final preview. Having an adjustment layer means that you can easily delete an effect by simply deleting or disabling the adjustment layer, and you won't mess around with the original video. You can also copy and paste an adjustment layer to have the same effect on another video clip, or you can stretch an adjustment layer to affect multiple clips. It's basically a cheat code in Premiere Pro that lets you do whatever you want to a video without damaging the original clip underneath. To create an adjustment layer, click the icon that looks like a small page down in your project window. Then click Adjustment Layer. The adjustment layer will automatically match your sequence settings, but you can check them here anyway. When you're happy, press OK. You have now created a blank adjustment layer in your project window. Drag this adjustment layer onto your project. You can move around an adjustment layer on the timeline. You can also drag on as many adjustment layers as you want from the same adjustment layer in the project window, so you don't have to create the first one over and over again. And just like you would with your normal clips and audio, you can use the razor tool to cut it up and red handles to change the length. Adjustment layers will soon become your best friend, so get used to creating these and dragging them around. Now that we have an adjustment layer on our timeline, we're going to want to use it to create a zoom. And not just any zoom, we want a smooth zoom. First, we're going to head over to the effects panel and search transform.
Hello.
You saw my comment?
Oh, you're balling.
Huh?
Balling.
No. I said hello or hola on YouTube.
Oh. Really? I didn't get the notif. When? How long?
30 minutes ago? 8:35?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I probably didn't see it. Yeah, because I'm currently just a video editing, so.
Dude, I put a little too much moisturizer. Because you know why? My face is burning.
Makes sense.
Is yours?
No.
Because I did this really cooling face mask. Helped so much. The sunburn.
Very nice. Want to sit down? Huh? Oh, you do have a lot. Holy. You're shiny.
The Tesla that I got, that's the $100,000 one.
Really?
Right? It's the SUV?
I don't think so. I think that was the,
Sedan?
yeah.
Oh, you're right. Never
Drag and drop your
Yeah,
transform
this
effect.
price.
Distort, transform. No, stay.
Wait, hold on.
Effect onto your adjustment layer. The transform effect will give us a whole lot of options later on when we're playing around with our zoom, including the option to change the shutter angle, which will give us that smooth zooming effect with motion blur. When you've added that, the small box on the timeline should change color. That means that we've successfully added a GPU accelerated effect to our adjustment layer. I'm going to expand the adjustment layer across the entire clip that I want to be affected by the zoom. A tip here, if you're going to be adding zooms to a lot of different clips within your video, for instance, if you're making a gaming video with loads of zooms, then it's worth stretching the adjustment layer with the transform effect across your video and then cutting up the adjustment layer using the razor tool. This will give you loads of individual adjustment layers and saves you from having to create them all separately. Remember, it's C to bring up the razor tool and V to turn it back into the selection tool. Another way to create multiple versions of the same adjustment layer is to hold down Alt on Windows or Option on Mac, then click and hold the adjustment layer and simply drag the layer to somewhere else. You should have a duplicate layer being dragged. You can use this on anything. For instance, if you wanted to duplicate an audio effect or a clip, just Alt or Option and drag, and there should now be a duplicate. Click on the adjustment layer clip and head on over to the Effect Controls panel in the top left. Scroll down to the transform effect that we have added earlier, which should be here. Pull the playhead in this left preview window to the moment in the clip that we want to make the zoom take
It's not showing
place.
your editing.
Hmm?
It's showing your email. There you go. That good?
What? Why was it showing that?
I don't know. Now it's showing them.
Huh? Refresh the page?
Oh, maybe this was yesterday?
Yeah, because that's alright. Oh, it's yesterday's stream, but
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Because you had YouTube open. You going cuckoo?
Make sure that you're on the precise frame you want the zoom to start
So, okay, I'm on the precise
by
frame.
using the left and right arrow keys, as these will move you around a single frame at a time. For the zoom to work, we're going to want to add our first keyframe. Let's take a second to break down what a keyframe is, because this is another huge moment in your Premiere Pro journey. A keyframe is a marker that has a
That's the
specific...
course I paid for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's really good at teaching. Like I'm practicing right now. So I'm right now I'm learning how to do a smooth zoom effect. So like, you know how like YouTubers and streamers, how they have sometimes zoom in. So I'm learning how to do that right now.
value relating to what you are marking.
It's a lot more.
It's probably best understood through an example. Now don't follow along with this part, just watch.
If we're wanting to have a close-up of someone's face, we might want the scale at that point to be 200%. We need to use a keyframe to mark the beginning of the zoom. We create keyframes using this stopwatch. Premiere now knows that at that keyframe, we want the scale to be 100%. The keyframe holds that value. This will be point A. We need to create a point B to mark the next scale value, aka where the zoom finishes. I'm going to move a few frames along to a point where we want the zoom to conclude at 200% scale. I change the scale to 200%, which automatically creates a second keyframe. In fact, whenever you change a value,
Shut up. So. Huh? Up here maybe? Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. See? Did that incorrectly? Look, you saw? I kind of messed it up a little bit, but I'm, getting it. See? But I did it from the wrong side, I guess. Okay. What the hell is even that? Is this one?
For the fan on?
Yes, please. No, no, no. It's okay.
No.
No, no. See. See, there I. It's not how I want it to be.
And this stopwatch has already been pressed and is blue, so Premiere will create keyframes for you.
Why
Now Premiere knows
why
that at
does
this
fucking keep
keyframe we
moving
want the
to my
scale
other
to be
screen, bro?
200%. Let's watch that back. As you can see, Premiere takes us
Oh, so frustrating. Like, fucking stay on my right screen, you stupid application. And I can't do anything? I don't know if anybody's watching, but one second. Let me see what's going on. Shit.
from 100% scale to 200% scale, as it knows at the second keyframe we want.
But how does he have it up here? That's what I want to know.
Create them all separately. Remember, it's C to bring up the razor tool and V to turn it back into the selection tool. Another way to create multiple versions of the same adjustment layer is to hold down Alt on Windows or Option on Mac, then click and hold the adjustment layer and simply drag the layer to somewhere else. You should have a duplicate layer being dragged. You can use this on anything. For instance, if you wanted to duplicate an audio effect or a clip, just Alt or Option and drag, and there should now be a duplicate. Click on the adjustment layer clip and head on over to the Effect Controls panel in the top left. Scroll down to the transform effect that we have added earlier, which should be here. Pull the playhead in this left preview window to the moment in the clip that we want to make the zoom take place. Make sure that you're on the precise frame you want the zoom to start by using the left and right arrow keys.
But
As
how
this
did
moment
you
is
get
added
there?
earlier, if you want to, and there should now be left. duplicate. Click on the adjustment layer clip
Click
and
on the
head on over to
adjustment
the
layer.
effect controls panel in the top.
Okay. So click on it. Effect controls. So click on the effect controls.
Left. Scroll down to the
What I have to first do, I guess, transform. Put it here. So effect controls. Okay, so he did that.
transform effect that we have added earlier.
Alright. So from the beginning.
Which should be here. Pull the playhead in this left preview window to the moment in the clip that we want to make the zoom take place. Make sure that you're on the precise frame you want the zoom to start by using the left and right arrow keys, as these will move you around a single frame at a time. For the zoom to work, we're going to want to add our first keyframe. Let's take a second to break down what a keyframe is, because this is another huge moment in your Premiere Pro journey. A keyframe is a marker that has a specific value relating to what you are marking. It's probably best understood through an example. Now don't follow along with this part, just watch.
If we're wanting to have a close-up of someone's face, we might want the scale at that point to be 200%. We need to use a keyframe to mark the beginning of the zoom. We create keyframes using this stopwatch. Premiere now knows that at that keyframe, we want the scale to be 100%. The keyframe holds that value. This will be point A. We need to create a point B to mark the next scale value, aka where the zoom finishes. I'm going to move a few frames along to a point where we want the zoom to conclude at 200% scale. I change the scale to 200%, which automatically creates a second keyframe. In fact, whenever you change a value and this stopwatch has already been pressed and is blue, Premiere will create keyframes for you. Now Premiere knows that at this keyframe we want the scale to be 200%. Let's watch that back. As you can see,
She said, I have the right to remain silent, but I gotta have something silent. Talk about.
Premiere takes us from 100% scale to 200% scale, as it knows at the second keyframe we want the value to be 200%. That space between two keyframes is always interpolated, which means that the moment Premiere passes a keyframe, it will automatically start changing the value to the next keyframe's value, if there is a keyframe. If there's no next keyframe, then Premiere will stick to the value of the last keyframe that was input. So in this example, the clip is now at 200% scale for the rest of the adjustment layer.
Now keyframes are also used for things like animation and all sorts of fancy effects. And the best way to learn about keyframes is to, you guessed it, start laying down some keyframes. So now we're going to make our smooth zoom. First, you're going to want to make sure that your adjustment layer is selected and you find the scale section in the Effect Controls tab. Go to the spot where you want to start the zoom with the playhead, remembering to use the left and right keys to find the frame you're after. Click the stopwatch icon next to scale and this will create this diamond right here. That's your first keyframe. Let's take an even closer look at that keyframe by hitting the plus and minus keys to zoom into the keyframe panel. This will become particularly useful when we have a lot of keyframes later on and we need to focus on just one of them, but more on that later. With our first keyframe, the scale is currently set to 100, the default scale of everything. Let's move our playhead forward 5 frames using the right directional key. We want to zoom into around 200%. So pull the scale up to 200. You can do this by either clicking and dragging up the scale number, which allows you to visually see how the scale will affect the clip, or by clicking the number and typing in your new desired value. Once you've changed the number, a new keyframe should have been created on your timeline in that position. Just a reminder, A keyframe will be created when your stopwatch has already been pressed and is blue, like ours was. And if you change the variable again at a different spot, it will create more keyframes. If the stopwatch isn't clicked, it will not create the keyframe. Right, so let's watch what we've just done in that preview window. That's a pretty normal zoom, but it's zooming straight into the middle of the video clip. What if we wanted to zoom into a different part of the video? Well, that's really easy to do. We just need to lay down some more keyframes. However, this time we're placing our keyframes next to where it says position, as we want to change the position of the frame. So go back to the effect controls, bring the playhead where the first keyframe is in the scale, and press the stopwatch next to position. This will create our default keyframe.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. Bum. Everybody wants kung fu fighting. Okay, I get it now. Okay.
Now move the playhead to line up with the second keyframe, which is where the zoom ends.
And okay.
Let's
that
start.
makes sense. Okay. I should have finished watching the video before I started freaking out, to be honest. See, there I don't mind. Like that. I finally learned how to do it. Oh my god. I said it couldn't be done, boys. Oh lord. That was actually tough. So I finally learned how to do that. Okay. We learned how to do it, boys. Holy. They said it couldn't be done. My god. Now I'm curious. Let's see. Let's expand it a little bit. See, there I don't mind. Like that. Having. Okay. See, there I don't mind. Like that. Having an Among Us like that. That's funny. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. As long as you do the prompt and you still. That's cool. That's really good. And I'm impressed that you were still able to do both.
You should have. Among Us. Us. Among Us.
Among Us. Chungus Among Us. Okay, wow. That's
the
actually
Chungus Among Us.
Okay, Phil. What the hell?
Yes, Among Us.
Okay. Awesome, dude. Nope. This bro actually went to our school. How am I? He must have another video.
Changing these X and Y values by clicking and dragging up and down the numerical value. You can see in the preview window that the camera is moving. And because the stopwatch was clicked, a new keyframe has been made. Change the X and Y values to where you want to zoom into. And there you have it. You've just zoomed into that exact spot. By moving the X and Y values, you're essentially in charge of the camera and telling Premiere Pro how you want it to move. Another quick tip here. If you want a keyframe that returns back to the original value, just hit that little reset button. That will create a return point keyframe. So if we do that in scale, it will make a keyframe with a scale value of 100. Let's watch that again and make sure we're happy. I think it's looking cool, but it's also not very smooth. It just immediately starts zooming with no ramp in or ramp out. I would call this squared off. And that happens because the keyframes we just laid down are linear. In other words, they go straight from our first value to the next. Straight is the key word here. What we want to do is have the zoom more subtly and smoothly start and then smoothly end. Doing this is pretty simple. All we need to do is use the ease in and ease out functions on the keyframes. The only complicated part of this is remembering which way around you have to do the two different functions, as you want your first keyframes to be the ease out ones and the second set to be ease in. That's because Premiere wants you to ease out of the first keyframe and then ease into the second one. It's confusing and it's just something you need to remember. You're going to memorize in no time. To add this effect, highlight the first keyframes on the left in scale and position, and then right click. This will open a menu filled with all the usual suspects: cut, copy, paste, etc. But what we're really interested in is the option saying temporal interpolation. You will then get a few options that appear, but don't worry about these just yet. All we want to do is just ease out for those keyframes. Click and those diamond keyframes turn into hourglasses. They are now temporal keyframes, which means that those keyframes are able to change the value between the keyframes in a way that's no longer just linear. That essentially means that there's no longer just a straight zoom from point A to B. All you really need to know is that this will allow for a really smooth zoom. Now go into that second batch of keyframes, highlight them, right click,
there I don't mind.
Ease in. And there you have it. Now let's watch that back.
Because that's such a quick zoom, we're not getting the full smooth effect. So I'm going to pull those first keyframes back.
And it's really easy to do this.
See,
Just
there I
drag
don't
and
mind.
drop those
Like that,
keyframes,
having
whatever
an
style
Among
you're
Us
after.
like that, that's
You might want a
funny.
really
That's
quick
cool.
zoom.
I like that.
You might want a longer
that's
one.
cool. I like that. As
Either
long as
way,
you do
it's
the
worth
prompt
remembering
and
that
you
if you mess up,
that's
just
cool.
press Control and Z or
And
Command and Z to undo, and then Control, Shift and Z or Command, Shift and Z to redo any accidental undos. One last thing we want to add is some motion blur. This will make it look even better and is also why we needed to add the transform effect to our adjustment layer. So back into the effect controls, go to shutter angle. What does shutter angle mean? That's quite a complex analog filmmaking question. Let's say you're using a camera. A higher shutter angle lets more light through, while a lower shutter angle lets less light through, and that affects motion blur. By playing with the shutter angle in Premiere, we can change the amount of motion blur. You're either going to want a shutter angle speed of 180 or 360. These are my preferences and are the ones that are most commonly used, but have a play
Press that you
around
were
to
still
find
able
your
to-
preference.
Wait, 180?
He comes.
See,
You may want a more exaggerated motion blur, so you might want to take this up towards 360. But let's set ours to 180 and watch the clip through again. Perfect. We have a really nice smooth zoom that's zooming into the spot that we wanted to show. And just to spend the last moments of this lesson giving a shout out to keyframes. Keyframes are awesome. You essentially get to control your effects in any way you want, enhancing your footage and showing the audience exactly what you want to show them. No matter what kind of video you're editing, they're extremely helpful. You can zoom in, zoom out, pan left, pan right, rotate an entire clip, and you can customize the way you do all of those things. Later in the course, we'll be using keyframes for transitions, and they can even be used for color grading. What makes these keyframes and effects even more powerful in Premiere Pro is that they're on an adjustment layer. This makes it so easy to play around with keyframes without damaging the clip itself underneath. Because if you mess up and you decide actually you don't like something, you can just delete the adjustment layer or disable it. You can also see what a clip would look like without the adjustment layer by turning the adjustment layer off. Just right-click and select Enable. You can also do this by selecting the adjustment layer and pressing Shift and E on Windows, or Shift, Command and E on Mac. And if you want the adjustment layer to affect more clips, you can just drag the end of those layers to match whatever you want. With that in mind, you have loads of room to play around with effects, and that will really be key to understanding your own style and what you like. Try dragging around the keyframes we've made together and play around with those scale variables. You'll discover loads of cool effects, and maybe something brand new. And that's the real basics of creating a smooth zoom and a brief introduction to adjustment layers and keyframing. There's so much you can accomplish with these tools, so make sure you keep practicing keyframing and making adjustment layers on your videos and get those skills ingrained in you. These really are editing essentials and will help so much with what's to come on the course. I'll see you in the next lesson.
okay.
Hi everyone. So this is going to be a quick tutorial on how you can actually probably on your... The way to do it is to double click, and then with these PRFP... So when we go into Premiere Pro, we're going to go to our...
Congratulations on making a video with awesome music and sound design. Now, you've learned a lot this lesson, so I hope you have to stretch yourself and watch a few films. You might notice that the music
Alright, I'll be back, guys. I'll be back in probably like an hour or so. So, take a quick break and then I'll return.